Welcome back to the Flyin podcast. This is our fifth episode here. I'm Ryan. I'm here today again with Sam and Zach. I know today we're not really talking too much on games. We didn't have any games this past week, but the international break, I'm wearing my USA stuff here today. Ready to talk about a little bit of the transfers that we are wanting to come in, a little bit about a recap in this past week, some of the international players we had. And then just general talking about the All-Star game coming up as well. So we'll, I guess, dive into it here a little bit, and we'll talk about this past week. Sam, any FC news that you want to shout out?
FC news. A lot hasn't really been, put out there this past week. Obviously, we haven't had any games, so no news there. But we did have, a couple guys, go and play internationally. So I'm sure we'll touch a little bit on that. And then, we've had news as far as possible transfer rumors. And then we've also had, the upcoming fixtures. Like you're talking about, a couple episodes ago, we're talking about all the fixtures that we have coming up. What goes into that? We're hosting the next, Open Cup match, what goes into that as far as, ticket prices, whatnot, as well as, what's the anticipation for it. But I mean, on my end, I haven't really seen anything that's, jumped out on me. It's been pretty calm, cool, collected. Most of the news has been internationally for us with the U.S. men's national team. That's been most of the news on the feed, on my feed and the Flyin Lion feed as well. So I'm sure we'll touch on all the above.
Yes, likewise. I mean, with everything going on, you got the international break, you got transfer window opening last week on my wife's birthday. So that was exciting. But um, the there's a lot of players. I think there's a lot of transfer news and whatnot with everybody with Messi, and I don't know if you guys heard this today, Busquets.
Big news.
Big news, but I
Mhm.
mean, just kind of segueing into the next part. I mean, we can talk a little bit about the transfer window. I believe Ryan, you kind of had a nice list of players that you've kind of scouted. What do you have to say on that?
Yeah, there's a few guys that I think coming in would be good additions. In my opinion, right now, we have two spots available, two international spots. So it doesn't necessarily need to be an international player, but um, I think we have some good flexibility. A couple guys that I had my eye on here. First one being Eddie Segura. He is a former LAFC player, won last year, won MLS Cup actually. He's had 82 caps in the MLS. I believe he's a Colombian international. So him and Mascara would have some good relatability there, and Arias as well. Um, Last year his salary was about 224,000. Right now our GAM, I think we have about, or actually our salary cap, I should say, we have about 400,000 available. So he'd take up, about half of that. If we wanted to bring him in, he's an experienced center back, would give us some good minutes. Has played a decent amount and started some good games for LA. I don't know how willing he would be to come over to us. He still had been posting some stories more recently, even about LAFC. I think he still lives in that area, so it would be a little bit of a stretch to see him come over. But would love to see a backup center back in this window, which officially opens up, I think, on July 5th. I can touch on my two other ones here in a little bit, but Sam, did you have any other players in mind for upcoming transfers or even positions that you think that FC should look to add?
Yeah, I had another center back as well. Probably a little under the radar. But Diego Luna, he's a center back, plays in Venezuela right now. He's going for 250K on transfer market right now. He's had 11 appearances and only one assist. But I think I was looking at a couple clips of the guy, and I had seen that he could add some depth. He's 23 years old, so he could add some depth to that back line. And he's another feisty Venezuelan, to add to our roster, right? So that's kind of my first shout, if you will. Another center back.
Going with the defensive route, everyone has the same thing in mind. Zach, were there any players that stood out for you on guys that we might target?
I kept looking up. I guess back in May, there were always these rumors about Peter Redkov from the Serbian league.
Right. Yeah.
He is a center forward. I looked at his transfer market profile, and I think he was like 600K. So I think we could have bought him for cheap, but then flipped him for a good sum of money. He's only 19, I think, and there's nothing like a good fresh player. I think he scored like 4 goals. Um, I guess I
Serbian
don't.
international, I think.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah. He's on their international team, and um, it just would have been cool to see someone young like that, but with a lot of talent as well. So that was one that I looked at, but with Bupenza, I mean, it's kind of like a moot point at this right now. So I guess we'll take Bupenza over that. But I didn't really. I tried looking also for some like right backs or left backs, but man, there is few and far between. There's not many to choose from. So I can see how
Yeah.
Barrial got flipped into a wing back position because it's a well needed um, roster spot.
It's a hot commodity. I think the outside backs that are athletic, especially for MLS caliber, you're looking at a pricey number to bring those sorts of guys in. Um, Mr. Was it Redclough, or I forget how you pronounce his last name?
Ratkov.
Rekoff, just got transferred to Salzburg, Red Bull Salzburg yesterday.
Oh, was he?
Just yesterday. So, you were thinking along the right track. It sounds like he had some pretty good suitors. So they just brought him in to be one of their future strikers.
Yeah, that's
Uh,
pretty big for Salzburg, I'd say, and for him. I mean, that a lot of Salzburg players move on to either the German league or um, over to the English Premier League. So he's got a good route ahead of him.
yeah. The other player, I actually had 3 total center backs. And to be honest with you, it was kind of interesting. The U20 World Cup had just, I think, finished like a week ago, and Uruguay was the winner. The next guy I had was actually a center back from their team, Sebastian Baselli. He's 19. He plays for a Defensor Sporting Club down in Uruguay. He is a 64 overall in FIFA. I know you guys want to know those numbers. And his potential is up to 72. But he, just like I said, just won the World Cup for the under 20s. Would be a player that you bring in, has some experience playing at the international level, but for his club as well, even at the age of 19, would come in and learn a lot under Miazga, under Hagelin. Would be a nice addition to the back line. So that's another name to look out for. I don't know if anyone from the club's watching this, but just another name to shout out there. So, Sam, any other guys that you could think of or look up or find that you thought would be good additions?
Yeah, I had 2 more guys. I mean, obviously adding Bupenza, I mean, it kind of adds more depth, right, to the
Mm-hmm.
attacking. But I wanted to throw another guy out there, Charles Andrews Brim. He had been playing, I believe, in the second division of the Netherlands. He's a guy who's got dual nationality for Canada and for France. And so he's been playing in that second division in Netherlands. And this past season, he had 29 appearances, 11 goals, and 9 assists.
Wow.
So he's a pretty good player up front. He could play on the right wing. He could play center or left, pretty much anywhere up top. But his market value is sitting at 325K, and I think that's a steal, to be honest with you, for the production that you see from that second division in the Netherlands. I mean, he's only 24 years old as well, and just like Bupenza, he's got the left foot. So I think this could be like another like dominant piece that you could add to that front line. And like I said, that's 20 goal contributions in 29 games. Like that's I know you talk about whatever you want to talk about with the Netherlands like second division, but I think that's pretty impressive, in any league. And so, given he's only 24 years old, he could learn alongside Vasquez, could learn, under Santos, under, some of these other guys, even Bupenza could, help him out up there. But I think that could kind of create that even four-headed monster, you throw a Costa in there as well. Just as a good rotation of guys, because we've seen, we talked about earlier this season, Santos was out a little bit, Vasquez isn't in form, Brenner's gone. So like, adding as many pieces up top as you can to have that kind of fluid rotation. Even, for the back line too, right? That we always talk about, especially with Hagelin, trying to deal with injuries. Miazga and Mosquera have both kind of dealt with something this season. So to add to that, more on the right hand side, because I mentioned it, I think it was either last podcast or 2 weeks ago. But I think it was last week. I had mentioned that, you got the young Barrio on the left side, and you got a bunch of old guys on the right hand side, right? So to add to that right hand side, I wanted to add another an MLS guy, right? To that transfer talk. And I think adding some youth to that right hand side with Jalen Lindsay. He plays for Charlotte FC right now. And I think he could be a good piece. He's got 11 appearances, 1 goal, 1 assist as well. And he's going for about 1.5 mil on transfer market. I know it's a little bit pricey, but he's a good young player at 23 years old. And I mean, he could be even getting some U.S. men's national team shouts here in a little bit. I mean, he's played pretty well for Charlotte. And like I said, just adding a little bit of youth to that right side could help as well.
That's really cool that you say that, Sam. It feels kind of rare to me for some reason that MLS doesn't sign interleague like that for like high dollar values. Well, that's
Mhm.
high dollar value here in the MLS, but it's really it's kind of it would be cool to have someone like that, like you said, to come in youthful, still at probably pretty good value because you could probably sell them on as well. Um, it sucks because when you're looking at transfer market, I hate seeing that little red the value of like we're not making money on our signings, but no, that's a good shout there, Sam. But in addition, I know we don't have any experience or we don't really care to learn about the TAM, GAM, and funny money. I, I wish we didn't have to deal with that, and I hope in the next couple of years it eventually dwindles out. But who knows what Don Garber's got in his up his sleeve? But um, it'd be nice to for Lucho to get his green card. I've been talking about it
Yeah.
off podcast, but it'd be so cool to have him not sign with the U.S. men's national team, but play for the men's national team, get called up. I think that would be amazing. And then at the same time, that would free up that another international roster spot. So then we'd have three, and hopefully we could sell some of those off for some good money. But it
Is
was a thought I had.
Lucho a international player? I feel like he's been in the MLS long enough that he might not occupy an international spot. Maybe one of you guys can correct me on that or do a quick search, but I'm pretty sure that he does not occupy it right now. I guess the switch over would be just for international to be able to play or represent the US.
Okay.
I think I'm pretty sure on that, but Sam, maybe you can correct
He's
me
a
on that.
DP.
He's a DP. But that does that mean that he occupies an international spot still, or
It doesn't say he occupies an international, no.
okay? All right.
No, because in Wobodo is international, Kubo is international, Angula is international, and those are our three international spots. Or four, or Mosquera has an international, obviously, but those are four players. But yeah, Acosta's just a DP.
Well, that's good to know. I think when I heard the news that he was looking to possibly switch over and that he's like 3 months into the process, I got real excited. I'm like really excited about, you watched the game last night, and I mean, we dominated Canada, we dominated Mexico, and like Gio Reyna just had two unbelievable games. Imagine like, we're given a bow down to Lucho on, or to Reyna, I should say, on his performances as he's coming off the field. And imagine if Lucho came in, that'd be incredible. So pretty cool. Did you guys want to add anything about the games that we had? The US, I should say, to clarify.
Yeah, we can talk about the U.S. men's national team games. I mean, so they played uh, this past week semifinal against Mexico, and then Canadian final. It was great to see us we absolutely dominated. We did, and it looked fantastic. It looked like a team that was, I mean, surging off of, the confidence, I guess, that you could say that we, got in the World Cup. And then during the qualifiers, or some of the friendlies here in the spring, I mean, we did pretty well. And it goes to show that this squad, when it's humming, like, we're young and we're coming. I really do think so.
It was
I think
exciting to watch.
I'd like to give one shout out to I've seen growth in this player, and it's been ridiculous. Timothy Weah on the right hand side, the growth that I have seen in this guy, playing for Lille, and when they won League Un, what was it, 2 years ago? It was kind of a non-factor, right? He was just kind of on their team. It was a guy that was on PSG for a while too, but it was just a name, right? Now he's, made himself a name, if you will, and been a guy to kind of make other European clubs recognize, hey, like, I'm here just as much as, Gio Reyna, Pulisic, you know, Balogun now,
Did you
all
see
these
he played
guys that
right
are.
back in
What do
his
you
club team as well?
Yeah. Well, he played this past season. He played left and right back, like, and now he's playing on the wing. Like, he can do it all. I mean, I'd like it gives me comparisons to what Barrial's been able to do this season for FC Cincinnati. But yeah, I've seen a lot of growth for the U.S. men's national team with Tim Weah. But yeah, it's phenomenal to see us lift up another trophy.
Yeah, I was gonna say the trophy lift with Callahan as the manager. It's gonna be interesting seeing as he gets the trophy and not Greg, even though I mean he's pretty much done all the work, but then Callahan just kind of sweeps in and grabs the trophy from him. But
I gotta add my own 2 cents on Mr. Callahan. I don't know if you guys had seen this in him or not, but you know who Sean Austin is, or Aston? I'm gonna mispronounce his name, but the guy that plays Rudy, he was in Lord of the Rings.
yeah.
He's in, I think, Stranger Things as Bob more recently as well. That's exactly what BJ Callahan looks like. That dude's like dead on comparison. So maybe in one of these reels we'll get a side by side to show you guys, but it's hilarious. So I just thought that was a funny side note and how he was leading this team, but really got him to play free, man. Like, they played without any limitations. They were free flowing. We had a couple players playing in different positions. Even when we brought in our backups, like, unbelievable how well that they were able to come in, adapt, and play. Um, Terrible attendance for the final game. I just would love to see us have a better
Yeah.
attendance, but overall, very happy to get another trophy out of that internationally. I think we moved up the ranks. We're tied for fifth now in the most amount of international trophies. I saw that stat today. Still about 3 behind Mexico. We have 9 total international trophies in our history. So pretty cool. So I think we can move on real quick. I got a trivia question for you guys that is related to this international break here. So our trivia question of the week for you guys: which FC Cincinnati player has the most amount of international caps for their national team? Sam?
That's an interesting one. Um, Trying to think of the amount of graphics that I've seen the past 3 to 4 years of guys being called up to their international squad. I think I don't want to sound too confident here, but I'm gonna go with Junior Moreno. I think that's a good shout, and I think that's the answer. I don't know. I'm confident though.
Zach,
I'm
what
gonna
you got?
I'm going with Alvis Powell, my man. I think
All right.
he's got the most caps with Jamaica.
All right. So we have Mr. Junior Moreno and Alvis Powell. Tune in later. We'll hear what the answer to our trivia question is. So we're going to take a break here. We're going to have a word from our sponsor, and then we'll be right back with you guys.
So Agility is a technology-driven soccer training facility. So we offer 6 facets of training. That would be Tech Touch with ball launchers that work on your first touch, the TSZ, which is the ESA equipment and working on decision making. We also have a circuit. Circuit training would be taking the ESA equipment to the next level. It's kind of like a soccer obstacle course. Then we offer neuroscience training with our reflection tools, working on processing things a little bit faster, hand-eye coordination and such. We offer skills classes, which is your typical core skills training. Lots of people still enjoy that, so we work on a lot of attacking 1v1 skills. And then we also offer athlete development. So our athletes come here and they work on speed, agility, quickness, explosive movements, really just learning how to move and function a little bit better as an athlete.
All right, and we're back here. So we're chatting a little bit more on this episode about the international break. We had talked a little bit on some transfers we wanted FC to bring in, and had touched a little bit upon the U.S. national team and their win in the Nations League. So some news, I guess, to kind of recap on things as well. The U.S. obviously plays in the Nations League, just won that competition. They're going to be starting the Gold Cup tournament here, which is a every 2-year tournament. We have Mr. Brandon Vasquez and Matt Miazga playing in that tournament. Their first game coming up here against Jamaica, actually on Saturday, June 24th. So at least 2 of those guys will be gone. It looked like Alvis Powell was on the preliminary roster. I think we're still waiting word on his confirmation, but I'd imagine he might be included in that. So we'll see. FC is going to be a little bit thin for their upcoming match, but happy to see that some of the guys were getting some national team experience again. Junior Moreno got called up for his Venezuelan national team. He was on the bench, was unused in both of their games. And Yerson Mosquera also on the bench for Colombia. So a lot of guys that need maybe a little bit of a break. Happy to see that they're getting that for their national teams. But again, happy to see that they're representing their country. Always cool to see. So any comments on any of those guys from either one of you? Sam, go ahead and give us any comment you got for it.
Yeah. I think you said it right there. I think it's awesome to see him get called up. That's fantastic. I'm glad, the international teams are seeing what our FC Cincinnati guys are doing for our club and hoping that, helps them out on the international side. But yeah, a much needed break. So, I mean, if they're going to get called up, I appreciate the call up. Not such a bad thing that they're sitting on a bench. I'm sure they would be, kind of disappointed by that,
Right.
wanting to play for their country. And, but yeah, from an FC Cincinnati standpoint, I think we'll be fine if they just, kind of sit out for a little bit more longer, take the much needed rest, and then come back and fight for us when you're ready.
Yeah, I was gonna say the with them being on the bench, it's gonna be hard for Vasquez to get his confidence back from that.
True.
So um I being a having a cap though for the international team, I think is should hopefully give him enough confidence. Hopefully when he comes back, he'll be fresh, ready to go with Bupenza at his side. So it'll be good to see that. But yeah, with Miazga and Mascara out this coming week, it's gonna be a tough week for our back line along with Haglin.
Right.
possible injury. So I don't know. It says he's questionable, but I guess we'll see how our center back depth goes. So that's kind of my quick recap.
I think that yeah, absolutely good point from both of you. One thing that I would even bring up though is being a part of a team that's in a competition, whether it's MLS, whether it's your international team. You obviously have a sense of pride for playing for your national team, but playing in a meaningful tournament, the Gold Cup, you're playing for a championship. Compare it, if you will, to coming up, we have the US Open Cup. It's a competition like that where it's a tournament style with everything on the line. So I think these guys get some good experience from playing in tournaments like that. Touching on that, I don't know if you guys saw that the tickets came out for the US Open Cup. Were you able to snag any tickets for this?
I was not. No.
That
I
could be
should have, but I did
yeah. Or
not.
you're going to be going to Italy, I think you said.
Yeah, I guess what's worse? I mean, I guess it would have been nice because I could probably pay off my Italy trip with selling those tickets, but
Probably at this point with all the people that you had mentioned earlier, possibly joining Inter Miami. It's going to be a heck of a game coming up. So I got 2 tickets. I'm excited to go. I'm hoping that Messi plays. So we'll see.
There you go.
So I guess I wanted to move on a little bit and talk about the All-Star game. Something that's a little bit under the radar in the MLS. This year we're playing Arsenal. The game's going to be played in Washington at DC United Stadium. Will be interesting to see. I was counting last night. We had 3 US players that are currently under, I guess, Arsenal's wings. So Balogun, who had a goal last night, shout out to him. Nice goal. Then you had Mr. Matt Turner, another guy. And then I believe was Austin Trusty the third one. I think if I was seeing that correctly, that he might be underneath the Arsenal branch as well. So I don't know if they'll travel and play in this MLS All-Star game, but that'd be kind of cool to see those guys. So I wanted to ask you guys for some of the FC players. Obviously, we've had a heck of a year. A lot of guys are deserving of making the All-Star game lineup. Sam, go ahead and give me who you think from our team should be making that roster.
I mean, like you said, there's a lot of guys, right? So I think we should limit it to 2 guys that we think should be on there, 2 shouts. Because if I'm being honest with you, I could have named 6. I mean, we're the best team in the league. And whether everybody starts or we have some guys on the bench, or you're in the reserves, right, for the All-Star game. But I'll go ahead and start, and I'll start with 2 guys that I think are the most deserving, in my opinion. And I mean, you can steal mine, or you can give new ones, whatever you guys want to do, because I think like I said, there's probably
to choose from.
Yeah, a lot to choose from. But first one out of the gate, you got to go with Acosta. I mean, the guy's up there for MVP. He's playing really well right now, carrying our team. And that's goals and assists. He's facilitating on all facets. The man's he's doing a great job at facilitating, and he deserves that All-Star bid, that second consecutive All-Star bid. And I can't wait to see that happen. Second guy for me would be, I think would be really cool for him because he's going to be leaving us at the end of the season, but Mascara, I think, would be a really cool shout. And I think for him to get an All-Star bid would be a huge confidence boost for not only him, but for Wolves as well, to see, holy crap, like this kid is growing in front of our eyes over there in the MLS. He's just was named an All-Star for, the MLS, plays on the best team in the league. That's those guys are kind of my shouts. I know we'll either have the same or a couple more, but those 2 would be my guys.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's a good shout on Mascara because he was in my top 3, I guess you would say. But I was gonna mention it'd be funny if you saw him playing Arsenal and then he pulls some crazy stuff, and then Wolves are probably gonna be pulling him back right quick, right?
Pay whatever fee they can, yeah.
Exactly. But no, my other one I was gonna say, Celentano. I think he deserves a all-star shout. Um, I mean, it's a 50% chance that he's going to get a clean sheet. How impressive is that? Like, yeah, you could
Yeah.
put a lot of the effort also on the defenders, both Biazga and Mascara, which hence why Mascara probably should um, deserves that shout. But yeah, I think Celentano. I mean, he's 22 years old, and some of the best goalkeepers in MLS right now are like 32, 34.
True.
Like they're in their early to mid 30s, and that's close to. I mean, I think that's close to retirement, but he's being competitive with the greats in the MLS. So I think that's pretty impressive of him.
You guys both had a little bit of crossover there. I like it. I'm gonna actually add on to this. This is funny that we all kind of had some similar, some different with it. My top one is Lucho for sure. I did some of the voting for the All-Star game, and Lucho was my captain of the team. Uh, I think personally, like I'm biased, obviously, but I see Wayne Rooney like formerly playing with him. Like that was the last time
Yeah.
he played, and he sees Lucho and how well he's doing. And I like playing against him. Like Saturday, we're gonna play against him. So I think he's like fresh in his mind, and Wayne Rooney's gonna put him there as the captain, in my opinion, which would be pretty sweet. My second person is gonna be Barrial. I think playing left back, he's been the best left back in the league. Has the most assists for a left back, has contributed, as we've talked about many times. Would love to see a young player like him get some good confidence in playing a team like Arsenal too, to show him that he can play at that level. To join some of the other guys, the best players in the MLS, and to really just showcase, look, I am able to play against teams like this on a day in, day out basis. So would be pretty cool to see him. So between us, I think we had some pretty solid guys. Some honorable mentions, I would say, would have to be Obi, Miazga. Those two for sure, I think would be pretty awesome to have in there as well. So Sam,
Yeah.
touching on, like you said, you could go up and down the board. Maybe not our strikers more recently, but a lot of guys out there that I think would be good shouts for making the All-Star game. So
Like I said, that's 6 guys that we just named, and
right.
those were all 6 guys that I was thinking about. So
Yep, you
I
guys
mean,
both named it.
yeah,
Yeah, it's kind of funny. The only people that I'm not gonna lie, I had my roster set. I had like 2 St. Louis City people just because my dad's from there. So I had to pick, 2 other people. They
I had
wouldn't allow
to.
you pick a full team of FC people. You had to put one other team in there. So I thought that was kind of funny.
To actually to get a little bit more info on how the voting works. I was actually looking it up earlier, and the voting breakdown, Ryan, actually you're only 1/3 of the vote. So it's 1/3, 1/3, and 1/3, right? So 1/3 of the fans, 1/3 is the media, and then the current MLS players also get 1/3 as well.
Doesn't
So
Don Garber he gets to pick like 2 people as well or something?
yeah. So how it works is if there are non-qualifying players that are still eligible for the game, like players who did not qualify for the ballot but are still, eligible for selection, right? Either the head coach Wayne Rooney can select them or Don Garber can select them, right? So it's 26 guys, and so 12 will be determined by the fan vote. 12 players will be selected by Wayne Rooney, and then 2 players will be selected by Don Garber.
Interesting. Does Lionel Messi make that roster?
I would hope, like we talked about last episode, like it's fantastic that he's coming over. That's great, but please don't take away from, all the greatness that the MLS
Right.
guys this season, like, just to name one, Thiago Almada, like a guy like that who's had a phenomenal season, like just to take away the spotlight. But
Hey,
that,
for
I
all we
mean,
know, he's just gonna come over here and crap a turd, and he's not gonna be old goose egg. He could
hot
just,
take, hot
yeah.
take.
I mean, you
Hot
never
take
know.
by Zach.
He's playing with Inter Miami. Let's be honest, guys.
Oh, hey, whoa.
Oh man, I love that hot take there, Zach. I love it. I love it. Bottom bottom of the Eastern Conference right now, but you gain one of the best players of all time and all his buddies, they're still gonna crap a turd, is what Zach is saying. I love to see it. I love to hear it. I think that's awesome. We have some upcoming games this week. It's gonna start getting crazy again for the Garys. So this Wednesday, so by the time everyone's listening here tomorrow, we're gonna be playing Toronto at home. That match, again, the roster is gonna look a little bit thin. I was actually looking at a couple reports today put out by the team. Hagelin's listed as questionable. Santos is questionable. It sounds like they're gonna try to give Hagelin a go. Santos probably will come off the bench. So I want you guys to give me some predictions, maybe a little bit of insight on who we might see in the game on Wednesday. What players are you looking out for the most? So Sam, go ahead and give me your prediction for that.
Yeah, obviously we're going to see a different back line, right? As well as, no Brandon Vasquez up top. And I genuinely think both of those guys have a chance to start for the Gold Cup on the 24th against Jamaica. I mean, they both could start, in my opinion. I think Matt Miazga more than Brandon Vasquez, just because looking at the Gold Cup roster, Miazga has a lot more experience than most of the guys on that roster. But as far as looking at the FC roster for this upcoming game against Toronto, I think we had talked about it last week. We're probably going to see a little bit more of that youthful energy, especially for the back line. I hope Hagelin gives it a go, because that definitely helps us out. And to Zach's point, I think it was last week, Akpanonu doesn't have a sub or a start or like any appearances at all in MLS right now. It's only been Open Cup. And so I don't know how much he'll be involved. My guess is he'll probably be on the bench if Hagelin doesn't decide to give it a go. I'll be interested to see what the formation looks like for sure. Whether we still go with that 5 in the back, or we go back to that 4 in the back and we kind of rein in Barreal a little bit, or Gaddis, Powell, whoever's going to start on that right hand side, maybe Arias as well, or Ryan, to your point last week, maybe Arias starts at center back, or Powell starts at center back, next to Mosquera. I'll be very interested to see what happens there.
Yeah, there's going to be some interesting dynamics coming into play on Wednesday, with pretty much all our back line gone. I think it's going to be Powell, because he has experience on a back line.
Your boy.
Yeah, he's my boy. What's his name? You got me distracted now. It was Elvis Powell, and then you also had Akpanonu. Murphy. Sorry, yes, he was Murphy, the other one. Yeah. So we've got some options if Hagelin can't pull out at least 60 minutes, maybe. I'd be glad to see some minutes out of him just to get back and look at semi-healthy. But with the front, I'm excited to see Kubo hopefully bag some goals for us. I think we'll see him a lot.
Do you think we see him as a striker, or do you think he slots in for Vasquez there with Baji, or where do you see him playing?
That's going to be interesting. I think it might be a 4-2-3-1 setup, and have Kubo on the wing with Baji up front. Maybe Barre on the left wing. I think that's because then we have also got Nwobodo and Moreno. Do we have Moreno, or is he out too?
Yep, he'll be back. I don't know how many minutes he'll go after coming back from Venezuela, but
so I think we still have most of our starting lineup minus the couple in the back. But I think if we change the formation a little bit, we can get creative and hopefully seal that game up with a win. But it's going to be nice because Toronto is going to be without baby Bradley, so it's always a good game when you don't have him playing. But then also, I mean, it's going to be first game off the break, and everybody's going to have fresh legs. So we'll see how it goes.
I was just thinking when you said Baby Bradley like that, I'm like, oh man, if I have to watch freaking Michael Bradley playing another soccer game, man, that dude is just miserable to watch. But anyway, I think both of you guys make good points about that. A little bit of youth. I wonder if Archimedes Ordonez plays some minutes in some of the absence as well of Vasquez. I think knowing Pat probably is going to go with Kubo probably and bring in Ordonez if I could have to guess and just stick with the system because that's what we've been doing well with. And they've been practicing that all year. Center back's going to get a little bit stretched. You have Insigne coming in with Toronto and then Bernadeschi coming in out wide. So that'll be interesting. It'll be fun to see them play. But they haven't really been gelling. So I hope that continues to go that way for us. But you're right. Otherwise, the starting lineup is pretty much the same. We have that game, Wednesday, and then we have the game on Saturday. So still going to be down the same players. Maybe by then, do we see Santos come in and start that game, play a little bit more minutes? I'm actually going to that DC game on Saturday, so I'm really pumped to be there supporting the boys. Again, for those who have listened, I went to the St. Louis game. I'm so sorry. I jinxed us. It's the only game we've lost this year. I'm going again to this away game, so hopefully it does not happen the same way. But I'm excited to check out a new soccer stadium. I haven't been to DC yet. So excited to look at that a little bit. But my prediction for Wednesday's game, I think we get a 2-1 victory. Sam, what's your prediction?
I'm gonna go 0-0 draw. I think it's a similar game to Chicago, where I think it's gonna be a weird formation, because we're missing some guys, and I don't know about the goal scoring if it's gonna be there. So I'm gonna go with a very, very boring game of 0-0.
It's going to be a tough game to watch. I'm going to be honest. It's going to be one of those. I don't remember what game that was, like 2 weeks ago. But I'm thinking it's going to be like either a 1-1 draw or a 2-2 draw. But it's just going to be some sloppy soccer that we'll see.
You got some ties coming from the boys.
Yeah, I don't. For some reason, I don't see a win here. But hopefully, Saturday we. Although DC, it's going to be a tough one. There's no midweek game for them. They're coming off of a week stretch, so I guess we'll see.
Yeah, I think it'll be very interesting. Like we're all saying, I think the crowd will be pretty good for being obviously a summer game, middle of the week. Might change that a little bit, but everyone's excited about this team. The Reds are now doing well. FC's been staying hot. We haven't had a home game in a while, so I think that brings people back in. We always seem to feed off the energy of the crowd, so I feel like hopefully we can pull that out with all that being said. But for DC's game, the thing that I wanted to comment on the most is DC leads the league in aerial duels, mainly because of one man. If you can guess who I'm talking about. Put you on the spot. Benteke. Big target up there. So former Premier League player, but he's won like the most amount of aerial duels of anyone in the MLS without Miazga or Mascara in the back. I'm a little bit worried about some of those long balls that they play or the crosses that they put in the box. So that's something to look out for. Is to see how we match up with those guys. I think Hagelin does a good job, but we'll see how the other guys do.
Yeah. Well, the DC also has I think about 3 or 4 guys that that have either been in their rotation or are in their starting squad that have been injury prone as well this season. So they'll be missing a couple guys, which, like you had talked about, the games this weekend. So we'll see if they're going to be healthy by then. So hopefully by the weekend, maybe it depends on what the result is on Wednesday. I really do think it'll impact greatly what happens on Saturday away, because if we get a win at home, then on Wednesday, that's fantastic. And then you go on the road to DC this weekend, you've got to get a point, right? And obviously if you get 2 draws in a row or you get a loss and a draw, like it's not going to feel right, especially a loss at home and a draw. So it's got to be positive points this whole week. Every single time you go on the road, especially, I mean, the atmosphere in DC is probably going to be really, really hyper as well because, like we had just talked about, they're getting the All-Star game. They're probably ramping up for a lot of stuff. The energy is probably around the stadium might be, better than usual because it's upcoming. And plus you have, like Ryan talked about, the reunion of Rooney and Acosta. So, you got those 2 guys that, Rooney doesn't want to see Acosta play that well, but he's probably going to pick him as his captain on the All-Star team. But yeah, I think this weekend, got to at least get a draw to get a point there, and continue to stay at the clear top of the table in the East.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to be the cynical one here, but you can't keep the one loss going forever. I think we're gonna have to eventually get a loss, but I really don't want to say it. But I'm also trying to jinx it the opposite. So hopefully we get a win out of it. But it's going to be a close one. I think like you guys have said, I think we're going to see a lot of young people get a lot of minutes these next couple weeks. So whether it's good minutes or whether, hey, if we get a draw, I mean, I'd say that's pretty good minutes to me. So
the recipe for success: win at home, draw on the road.
Yep.
So that keeps us at a good pace. Nashville is kind of hot on our heels. They want us to know that. I'm like, come on, all these guys on Twitter just shouting everyone. It's like, guys, you're really, really trying hard to make this a rivalry, but they've been playing well. I could see it. But I think they're only 5 points back,
they have not been playing well. One guy's been playing well.
True, but that's all it takes sometimes, man. I mean, they're without Walker Zimmerman right now, and they're playing pretty dang well. But you're right, he's playing out of his mind. So
yeah, I mean, Henny Mukhtar's playing great. But then the games that they've also had have been with 9-10 men on the field as well, right?
true,
So
true. St. Louis goes down a man, yeah.
Exactly. The other teams have been down a man. So it's not, like you had said, it's not a rivalry. Let's not try and make it something it's not. And that they're trying to find somebody, right? We had talked about earlier, I think it might have been like second podcast, we talked about them just trying to find somebody to be a rival with. And it's like, sorry, like we've already got Columbus. Like we're not going to take on another one. Like that doesn't make any sense.
Not another yellow shirt.
The off yellow. Right.
Right. Yeah. Let's call it highlighter yellow.
The highlighter yellow. Yeah. My kind of last points on this episode, I wanted to chat a little bit and see, Zach, you kind of talked about not being too cynical and we can't keep it up at this pace, but second half of the season, now that we're at a halfway point, do you think we keep this pace through the summer? I know we have Leagues Cup kind of throwing a wrench into things, but do you see us continuing at this level? Zach?
I would say, sorry about that. I would say this is my hot take of the year. I think we're going to get the most points in MLS history, set a record. I think we're going to hit the highest. I think we've got what it takes. I think we bring in the right people this summer. I think we'll get more than Bupenza. I think with the current streak that we're going, I think we can continue this run. If I'm not mistaken, I can't remember when Leagues Cup starts, but
July 15th.
Is it July 15th? That's
it's July 23rd, something like that.
Right after All-Star game, basically. So there's going to be another stretch of games where it's going to be game after game after game. It's going to come down to depth. Who can survive the longest, basically. So we'll see.
Sam, predictions?
Yeah, I think I don't know about the most points, but I think we'll set records for sure. And to be honest with you, once again, like for me this season, I'm just happy that we're doing better than last season. I'm a big fan of growth. I'm a big fan of just staying consistent into the project that we've been in, right? Obviously the first 3 seasons, wooden spoon. Not very happy about that. And then you have the playoffs last season, fantastic. This season, we're the best team in the MLS, right? So the growth has been exponential. So I don't want to, try and look past it. I want to be present. I want to be thankful for what we've got. But I definitely think that we have the chance to finish out the season as the top seed for sure, going into the playoffs for the MLS Cup. And I think
So top seed, Sam says.
yes.
That's your prediction. I'm hearing top seed.
Yes, top
Maybe
seed.
not like most points ever. Not 74 points, but we're top of the table.
Yes.
Are we Supporter Shield champs at that point, or are we just Kings of the East?
I mean, looking at the West right now, they're kind of fighting with each other, right? So
Yeah.
everybody's knocking each other out. We seem to be the lone standing club in the East, for right now, at least. And down at the bottom of the East, it looks a lot worse, right, than what the West does. The West, there's a lot of teams just in the thick of it.
In the middle, right? Yeah.
Exactly. So I think that'll set us apart and be able to put us up there for the Supporter Shield, especially since we're out of West games, right? We've already got the West all out of our schedule. We're just focusing on those East teams. But then that also plays into that hand of, hey, these could be trap games, right? So we're running into a lot of trap games. But yeah, I'll go with first in the East. Ryan, what you got?
Keep your receipts, boys. That's all I'm saying. I wanna see this at the end of the year. I'm gonna say that we definitely set records. We're gonna get the most points. We're gonna keep a high level. A successful year for me, I guess the rest of the year for Bupenza. I want to just touch on the transfer that we know about is to get 5 goals. I think that would be a successful run for him. But add that in addition to all the other strikers we have, like we're gonna have some good depth if everyone can stay healthy. So I think it's going to come down to, like we've all talked about, depth down the stretch. Definitely going to rely on center backs that know how to play in these competitions, how to play in these many games. I think I saw somebody say this on, I think it was Extra Time. I was listening to their podcast, so I don't want to take full credit for this, but they made a good point, and they said that we're winning games where we're winning 1-0, 2-0, or games like that, which is more sustainable for cup runs than winning 3-2 or 4-3, where we're giving up goals. So I think he makes a good point. We know how to shut games out, and we know how to keep people from scoring. I would love to see our away record get a little bit better, which would maybe not be as much of a factor in MLS Cup, because if you guys remember, if we're top seed, we get to host a lot of the home games and we can kind of go through that way. So I think that's what they're really, really pushing for. After seeing last year, like we almost upset Philadelphia at Philadelphia, but imagine if we were at TQL.
Yeah.
I mean, it would have been a completely different situation. So this year, let's just get to that point where we own that home seed and we just dominate. Because again, we haven't lost this year at home, so would love to see that. And I think that's a good thing to look out for, is just keeping a home seed. But I'm hoping for the best. I'm excited about it. I wanted to give you guys the answer for our trivia question of the week. So again, recapping our trivia question, looks like you guys really want to know the answer to this one. Which FC Cincinnati current player, has the most amount of international caps for their national team? Sam, we had locked in Junior Moreno. Zach, we had Alvis Powell. This is, I think, a first in our history here at the Flyin Lion podcast. Zach had actually called the correct answer. Mr. Alvis Powell, congratulations with his 58 caps for the Jamaican national team. Second best, I believe, I'll have to go back and look at this, but it was Junior Moreno. Sam, you were not too far off. He had 38 caps.
That's 20 off.
Well, I mean, in terms of being like, he was second.
No, yeah, I'm still second though. I'll take second.
So, and then Arias, I think, was high up there too. I think they didn't maybe account for him being a current national team player. He actually has 54 national team caps, but he's retired for Colombia's national team. So kind of interesting. Hoping that Alvis Powell gets another call up. He made a nice comment on one of our posts the last time. So glad to see the players are loving what we're putting out there. I wanted to thank our sponsor for this week, so Jody, and I'm excited for the games coming up this week as well. Any last thoughts from you guys?
No, I think, having another midweek game and another weekend game, we'll continue to see it hopefully throughout the year until we win that championship for the US Open Cup. But I'm looking forward to seeing how we deal with the fixtures in July, because July is going to be insane.
Let's get busy, boys. We got Wednesday, got games coming immediately, so focus on one and then the next, one game at a time.
Roman mindset. Let's go.
The Roman and Pat Noonan mindset all year long, boys. Let's ride it out. Let's see another win. So thanks for joining and listening to the podcast again this week. Like and subscribe on YouTube, and go ahead and listen on Spotify. But thanks everyone for listening. We'll see you next week.